Happy Mamas to another episode of Happy Mama TV. I'm your host, Patricia Ribeiro Wolfson, and today I have a very special guest, a really, really close, good friend of mine who is far, but I feel like she's always close in my heart, Annika, and she is known as the Light Maiden. Hi, Annika.
Hi, it's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited that you could that we could arrange for a time for you to be here. So, why don't you tell the community a little bit about who the Light Maiden is?
So, who is the Light Maiden, right? Well, that's me. My name is Annika. I live in Ireland, in the magical southwest of Ireland. We have beautiful nature around, and a lot of magic, a lot of nature magic, a lot of old historic magic. There is the Celtic that comes in, the Celtic influence of the culture as well. And I, over the last couple of months and years, I have tapped into that magic, and I have just started stepping into this power, these powers, these magical powers. I don't have other words for that, to bring light into other people's lives. So whatever it is the person in front of me needs, if it's channeling messages from spirit, if it's doing an angel cards reading, if it's doing an Akashic records reading, or if it's just simply coaching and giving them tips on how to make their life easier and bring more flow into their life. Whatever it is, I'll take their hand and bring more light. So I'm the maiden that brings light. That's it.
It's such a beautiful, I love the way you explain it, and yet I don't think that your explanation quite encompasses how awesome you are, and I just want to say that as an aside. But certainly if anyone it feels like they need to reach out to somebody and they're kind of lost or maybe hiding from life, Annika is definitely the person to make you feel comfortable and to bring you out of that shell and bring a little peace into your life. And if you're feeling like you're in the darkness in a tunnel, she will most definitely guide you towards the light in a good way. Not any other light, just the light at the end of the tunnel. So why don't you, so today we're going to focus on self-care because Annika's coaching practice, at least how I met her, was originally through her focus on self-care for anyone, but certainly we connected on the aspect of self-care for mothers and how it's important to fill your cup, which of course we talk about all the time. So why don't you talk about that a little bit, Annika?
It's really funny, yeah. When we met, it was all about self-love and self-care and putting yourself back into your life, basically. And it all started for me before we met. I started out as a birth guide. So I actually helped mothers-to-be or pregnant moms to put that self-care in front and use affirmations to prepare for their birth. And so naturally, I worked with a lot of mothers afterwards. Because they came and said, like, I'm not pregnant, I have my kid, whatever, but I want to work with you anyway. So this is how it evolved into the role that you and I met, like, at that space. And when I first became a mother, I had to learn this. I had to learn that if I'm just at the end, I can't care for my child in front of me. And I learned that really quickly by getting really, really sick. So, like my body holds those lessons in it. And I follow them normally. But no, like sometimes I don't. And then I get another slap from the universe. Like, go back there. But what I learned is in motherhood, we are raised in a society where we are always told, or like even not even told, it's just the way when we observe the world around us, that we see that mothers are supposed to put everybody else in front of their own needs. And I think it's the wrong way around. It's the wrong way around. And self-care is misunderstood in a lot of ways. Like self-care is not just like go luxurious and go into the spa and have a mani-pedi or whatever, have a bubble bath, like all these, like take time out for yourself. You know, it can be as simple as just drinking your tea warm, or taking a shower in peace, or lying down for 10 minutes in between. It doesn't need to be like this big thing. It needs to be consistent in your life. Because if you do your self-care like once a month or once every 3 months, it's not gonna last. It's like a drop into a desert. In fact, there will be nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And also, self-care is not all about the luxurious things. It's also about very, very essential things. Like, when did you last go to the dentist? When did you look at your like medical care? You know, when was your last time at the gynecologist when like you had a checkup? You know, just check up to be sure there is everything okay. We make time all the time for our children's checkups, or for our husband or whatever, or for our pets. But we don't. It's the last thing. The hairdresser, looking after your body, the finances, really looking and having a system and making sure there's space for you to also have that money to go out and do these things that light you up. You know, have that in the budget. Have yourself planned into your financial plan. It's not all about buying groceries and buying clothes for the children and buying books and whatever. There must be a space for yourself as well.
I really like that distinction. I like so many things of what you said, but certainly that, you know, I do agree that there is this misconception that self-care has to be like, oh, a day at the spa or a big massage, and that costs money. And some people are like, well, I don't have the time or the money. But I really loved how you mentioned sometimes it's just drinking your tea hot. And in my case, coffee. Like it's just giving yourself enough care and space and time that you can just enjoy a cup of your favorite beverage just after you made it, as opposed to 3 hours later and sticking it in the microwave 100 times to warm it up. You know, I like, and I love this idea of, you know, budgeting it in, even into your finances, even the smallest thing, to take care of yourself, and the appointments. I love that. It's so important. I think we forget, like, I mean, certainly I confess that I can't remember the last time that I went to the gynecologist. But although I do go to the doctor yearly, but things like that, like we put ourselves, it's like, oh, fine, it's not a big deal. I don't care, you know, and it's important.
I'm fine until you aren't, you know?
Yeah.
And you could have avoided it. It's like,
yeah.
But there's also this part of really making time for yourself. If you want to read, and make at least 10 minutes, like cut 10 minutes out of your day to read. If you want to like get out once a day at least for a quick walk, like this doesn't cost you any money. It's just time that you need to invest in yourself. And for me, my self-care journey started like as self-care. So I started self-care. With the self-care came self-love and self-respect and self-acceptance for where I am right now. And also very, like, I got present with myself and saw, okay, this needs changing. I don't want this like that. And another thing that is really, really important in self-care and is not much talked about is like surrounding yourself with people that treat you well as well. So it's like setting firm boundaries with people, and that can be as close as your mother or husband. If they don't treat you well, tell them. But if we are not used to treating ourselves well, we certainly won't tell them to treat us well because we're used to it, because we do it to ourselves, so they're allowed to do it as well.
That is so important.
Like setting boundaries and being clear. Yeah.
It's so essential.
Like setting boundaries, removing people out of your life that don't do or that are not on like one vibrational level, how we would say in the spiritual like community, is so important, because essentially you are the like 3 closest or 5 closest people you have around you. Like you are in their energy all the time, so you pick up their energy, and if they're negative all the time, you're going to be negative all the time. And that is a big, huge, massive part of self-care too, we don't normally talk about, and we don't normally think about when we talk about self-care. So yeah, it's there's a lot of things that you can do for self-care that don't cost you a cent, I promise.
Yeah, I really like that, being aware of who you are allowing into your orbit, and setting boundaries for yourself. And it's true. I just had that conversation with one of my mamas in my community, just about like, you hear people are judging you and making you feel bad, and you acknowledge that and accept it, because it's basically amplifying our inner critic. And so, because we don't put boundaries on our inner critic, we're not putting boundaries on those people who are amplifying that voice, because it's like, they're right. They're right. I'm no good at this, or my house is a disaster. I deserve to be yelled at for this, or judged for this, or, I don't spend enough time doing important things for my children, or whatever it is. Because we are constantly like beating ourselves up for those things, we allow other people to beat us up too, in that sense, and judge us without putting our foot down firmly and say, no, I'm not going to accept what you say anymore. And how would you set a boundary? So let's talk about that. Because I know that a lot of people have difficulty with setting a boundary with, let's just say, somebody close to you, let's say a mom or a mother-in-law, who is judgmental about how you live your life. How do you set a boundary and still leave the door open for, love and connection, because you need that?
Well, I struggled with this for a long time. I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but I didn't speak to my mom for the last 4 years. So we just have gotten back into contact over written letters, and like she has seen her. Like I have 2 little children, 2 little boys, they're 15 months and 3.5 years old, and she has met them for the first time last December. So she didn't meet her first grandchild for 3 years because we didn't speak with each other. There, like, a lot has happened to the point where I thought, like, I don't want to speak with you anymore.
Right.
But beforehand, I would tell her, like, I don't want to speak about this. I don't think you're in a place where you should talk to me like that. I'm an adult now. I can make my own decisions, and if you continue to speak like that, I'm gonna hang up the phone, or I'm gonna go. And I can't recount, like I removed myself so many times from conversations with my mom until I finally made the decision, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. So yes, but this is a very good step to start. Like, listen, I don't think if you would talk to a friend, you wouldn't talk to her like that. So please don't do it with me. If you want our relationship to be a good relationship and a relationship filled with love, this is not the way you're gonna speak to me. And like, but this can only come if you're aware that it's their stuff they're putting on you.
Yes, that's important. There is a distinction that, when someone is saying hurtful things or being judgmental, that it has so little to do with you and everything to do with them and how they're projecting whatever their process is on you.
It's such a good point to like really listen into. Like when she starts nagging or she just starts judging you or starts being like harsh, you can listen very closely and you can say like, Mom, I'm so sorry you're having such a difficult time. I'm so sorry you feel like leaving your anger out on me or letting your anger out on me is the right way to go right here, but I won't accept that. I'm here to listen to you, and if you want to share what you're struggling with, I'm here. But if you want to continue talking in that way with me, I'm going to remove myself from this situation. Yeah. And that is setting very, very clear boundaries, I guess.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard because we want people to like us and love us no matter what. And I think that especially as a mom, we are, the big burden we carry is that we are nurturers. And as a nurturer, you're not allowed to set boundaries because you need to be available at all times to everyone in your life. You have to be there for your spouse. You have to be there for your children. You have to be there for your parents, for whoever's in your life. Naturally, as a mom, you have to take this role of being available at all times, no matter what. And to stand up and say, I don't accept this from you is a really bold and courageous move that many of us aren't equipped or feel like we are not equipped to make that kind of bold statement, because it's like, oh my God, what are people going to think?
Especially with our mothers, we like bounce back into like children behavior,
Yeah,
that
for sure.
like rebel, like and then we go against it. So that has happened a couple of times. Like I live in Ireland, my mom is in Germany for the last 6 years, so we have seen each other in between before we stopped talking. And it would have happened every single time we would encounter each other. I would go backwards. I was this beautiful, balanced, grown-up woman, and I would meet with my mother, and back was the like teenage daughter, and that was the rebel, and like going against everything.
Yeah, because they got that trigger, right? They get that trigger, and it's like the trigger does not trigger. Yeah, that trigger, it doesn't push the buttons of you as a grown-up, as an adult, as a woman who has processed things. That trigger goes right to that little girl who didn't feel safe, that little girl who felt not validated, whatever issue you had at home growing up, that anything that comes, it goes right to that little girl. It bypasses the woman and all like logic. It doesn't get processed as a logical thing where it's like, oh no, I see where she's coming from. You go right to that little girl going, you can't do this to me anymore. I'm a big girl now.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is where we like need to pull back and say like, no, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm not a little girl anymore. And I don't need my mother or my father or anyone else step over my boundaries. And here is like a really, like that rang so true for me when you said like we need to be there at all times. Nobody can sustain this. Nobody is equipped to sustain being there 24/7. And when you try to do that, and like with me, it happens very quickly that my body says like, I'm going to send you into bed or into hospital or whatever, you might have a different body that is more used to stress or can take stress more longer, but then you might end up in 20 years with cancer or like another serious illness. So we need to take care of that stress and really like they will survive when you check out for 3 hours. They will survive if you check out for 24 hours, and they will even survive if you set up things good for them, for your kids or for your parents or for your partner or whatever. They will survive. Like your kids can stay with their grandparents and they watch each other, and then you can go. And it's okay to do so. Every single person needs a break at some stage and needs to take some time away. And you know, like that does count for you as well. And if you need a permission slip, I gladly give you that permission slip. I'm like, here's your permission slip. Go and look after yourself. And if it's a 3-hour walk in nature, or if it's sitting 3 hours in, like, booking yourself into a hotel for 24 hours and like sitting on the bed and journaling or binge watching a show, whatever it is you need in that moment, make sure you give it to yourself, because your life will improve so much and you will have so much more to give because you feel good. There will be so much more love and attention and patience and active listening and courageous conversations in your life the minute you start looking after yourself. Yeah.
You know, you're so right. And I like how you explain the process, that once you really started to take care of yourself, once self-care became a priority, then self-love followed. And that is such an important element to being able to handle anything, because once you have the self-care, which then translates to self-love and loving where you are at, then it's like all of a sudden you're more patient, all of a sudden you're more understanding, and things don't rattle you in the same way. You're not triggered in the same way because you're in a nice balanced space. Isn't that the case?
Exactly. You're like, and even when you're triggered, you can process what is triggering you because you know yourself. And for that inner girl to not jump up and like be ready to fight, you need to look at the things that made her fight. You need to heal the past. You need to let things go through forgiveness. You need to like really, really let go of that former you, or like more like hugging it and hugging it into you. So it's part of you and you understand it's part of you, but it doesn't need to come out anymore. And when it comes out, yeah, exactly. When it comes out, it has a reason. It has a reason, and you can look at the reason, see like, oh yeah, I know why you're coming out right now. I know that we were in that situation earlier and you weren't safe. Right now, my love, I'm keeping us safe.
That's so important.
And it's yeah.
Go
ahead.
No, I know, this is so exciting.
We have a delay. It's like,
I know. But I like how you said that it's not so much like letting her go, but embracing her, and accepting that part of you, even accepting that part of you that gets angry, and accepting that part of you that has no patience, accepting that and saying like, that's okay that that you're like that sometimes, and embracing it, and recognizing those triggers, because it will lessen the times you go there. I like that, there is a reason. And then you say to her, I've got you, you're safe. It's just so beautiful the way you put that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm like all immersed in this process right now, and pulling them apart, kind of, So I'm all immersed in this process right now, where I look at what does myself mean. What does it mean that I myself need this right now, or I need to do this, or like, who am I, basically? It all comes down to like, who am I? And motherhood is one of the most life-changing things. And I always say, like, the first time I held my firstborn, it was almost like the center of my universe shifted. I wasn't the center of the universe anymore, he was. But I had to see that I slowly but surely had to shift that center back to myself. And what does myself mean? Because part of it is definitely the mother, So I had to look at it, and right now I'm working on a process to make it even clearer for more people. And so I have this like structure of 4 maidens being there. But
Yes.
that is probably like for another talk, because there's so much of it.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been listening. I've been watching you like coming out with your maidens and the drawings, and I'm like, oh, this just looks so juicy. I love the direction that you're headed, and we can certainly let people know if they're interested in kind of discovering their maidens. That they can go to your Facebook group. I guess, is that where you're sort of opening that up there more often?
Yeah, so I talk about it like on my private Facebook page, on my business Facebook page, The Light Maiden. I have now we renamed it. It's The Light Maiden Network now, my Facebook group,
Yes.
where I'm talking about this process and the different maidens within us. And yeah, so it's all coming together really, really nicely. And I just love that we somehow ended up here.
No, it's great. I've seen the evolution, and the evolution has been so beautiful to just to watch you evolve. And I actually didn't know that, or I knew and I had forgotten that you had started with pregnant women, and then how you are now sort of in that process, you know, the pregnant women and the moms, and now really discovering the maidens that exist within each of us, each woman. So sometimes what we do, or normally what we do in our show, is we give the audience something to either look at in or to kind of discover about themselves. And I don't know if you have something, whether it's like potentially a PDF, or if you have a video that would be useful for them to watch. Do you have something that we can then post up in the group?
I did a self-love webinar, and like it's not visible at the page, like it's kind of my hidden gems, but I would like to make that available for you. So I'm going to send you the link, and you can post that in the group. It's like on my website, and you can watch the self-love webinar. It was a webinar I did before I did a group program, an email program, the self-love journey. I'm planning on making that available again as well. So it's an email program running 3 weeks. But the self-love webinar was really, really good. And we go especially into the things that you can do. Like that doesn't have to be like the big bubble bath and like spa day and stuff like that.
That's great. I like
So
that.
yeah, that would be something I would love to make available for you. Yes.
So, as we wrap up our chat, can you, do you have like top 3 self-care tips for our moms? Do you have like 3 things that you're like, if you have time for nothing else, you know, try to do one of these 3 things for yourself, you know, each day?
But what helped me a lot was meditation. Getting really, really still, and if it was only for 2 minutes. It's just something that helps me a lot. I started with the Deepak and Oprah meditation, and they just started a new experience. Like every time they bring out a new meditation experience, they give it away for free.
Yeah,
so I
they
don't
started
know
one yesterday. There was one that just started yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's day 2 right now while we're recording this. I don't know when you're popping that video up here, but they just started a new experience, and they give out the whole experience free when they bring out. So every like 3 or 4 months, they give out a new experience, and that is how I got started on my meditation journey like years ago. So that is point 1, definitely meditation. It can look differently for you. It can be a moving meditation. It can be just like listening to your breath and like just concentrating really, really hard on that. Like wherever you are. Headspace is another nice, they have a 10-day trial, a free 10-day trial that is gorgeous too. So there's loads out there for you to try and to find your own way of meditation. The second way for me is sleep. Like at this stage, like with 2 under 4, I'm like, sleep is one of my hallelujah self-care practice.
Totally.
And if it's only a power nap 10 minutes, it helps me so much. Yeah, but I have a very supportive husband who even lets me sleep through the night from like most of the night. So I'm like very blessed with that. But still, sleep is my go-to. And then it's movement. Like the third thing is movement. Either if it's outside, going onto our river walk that is around the corner here, or going up the hill and into the woods to look for mushrooms. And I can do that with my children. So that is something I can do with them, and it's still self-care for me because it lights me up and it brings me into the present moment. Or then like yoga practice. I love my movement. So either it's going outside and having a good walk and getting back in my body, or then my yoga practice where I really like connect the breath and the body and just getting really focused and present. And this is my body and it hurts here and here, and so I need to take care of it. So yeah, those are the things I can really, really recommend.
That's wonderful. Those are three great suggestions. And I like how you said that with the meditation, it doesn't have to be more than 2 minutes, even if it's just like, because I think people get so, so overwhelmed with the idea of sitting quietly for like, 20
minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't have 20 minutes, but like the 2 minutes of just silence, of just listening to your breath, while you're in the bathroom, even, if you happen to have a chance to go by yourself, which is rare, but like that can be your meditation, or waiting in line for a coffee or something where you can just quiet and close your eyes, or not even, but just kind of zone into your body.
You don't even need a mantra or anything like elaborate,
Yeah.
when your breath is your mantra, like in and out, that can be your mantra. It's like really simple. And then I love a picture that they put up in Headspace. Like it's the picture of you're sitting at the side of a street and your thoughts are the cars that come along on that street. And the only thing you're doing when you're meditating is not jumping in front of the cars, because that would be dangerous. No, like just like not stopping them, not like stop, but just letting them go by and just like look at them.
So the car is representing your thoughts.
Yes.
Right? Exactly. Is that so? It's like, so you're basically just like letting the thoughts go by without thinking about the thoughts and like, oh, what does it mean? Why am I thinking about that? And then beating yourself up over thinking.
And whenever you find yourself, you catch yourself thinking or like grabbing onto a thought or hopping in front of it, you can go back to your mantra and think like, oh no, in and out and in and out. And then you might stand in front of the next car, of the next thought and try to stop it and think about it. And then you remember you. Oh no, go back to it.
Yeah. I like that. That's great. I think those are
really, really easy. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's this delay.
It's like really, really hard delay.
Exactly. It is.
But no, it can be as easy as just like taking 5 breaths in a row, like deep breath, and then coming back to whatever situation you're in. Like there's poo smeared all over the floor, mixed with pseudo cream and maybe a little bit of apple juice. And you just think like, and then you have to remember to breathe out again and do that like 4 more times, and your reaction will be very different from if you use that out breath to shout.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and you would, I wouldn't blame you for wanting to shout in that moment, because that sounds pretty intense, but I have to say I've been in those situations before.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure most moms can relate.
Yeah, definitely in one form or another. And then it's like, even if you shout, even if you don't remember, there is like judgment and blame doesn't help anybody. It just brings you down. So in that moment, even if you shout it, it's time to say like, okay, I forgive myself and I try to remember next time to breathe out without saying anything.
Yeah.
And then like repeat the breath. And it's a really slow process. I'm here now on the other side and I can tell you all these like fancy, awesome tips. It has taken me my while, and it will take you your while. And that's fine, because we all run on our own pace. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I think that's such a great way to wrap this up too. As we do wrap this up now, is there any thought you want to leave our mamas with? Do you have like one little, sort of parting thought that moms can keep in mind?
You're exactly where you are right now because you need to be where you are right now. And you didn't know what you didn't know. And now you know differently. And you can go forward with that knowledge and try to implement it into your day, bit by bit by bit. So no need to judge yourself or like punish yourself or whatever. Just learn to love yourself. I think that is the most important message I can leave you with. Learn to love yourself, and the love you can give will be greater than anything you ever experienced before. And now I'm going to cry a little bit.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Annika. It's always so enlightening to speak to you. You truly are the light maiden, and I always feel lighter after speaking to you. I always feel the love. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the mamas in the community and on behalf of myself and the show. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for your sweet words. And I look forward to bringing you back on the show again because you are a pleasure.
I love that. I love to be back here. And thank you so much for having me, and so much gratitude for our connection, because I truly love and adore you, and I think that, so thank you so much.
Okay, ladies, that's it for us this week. I hope that you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next time. Bye.